Thanks for staying with us. All rape and sexual assault cases are very serious. Joining us on the show to discuss the effects of rape from the psychological part is our in-house life coach, behavioral psychologist, the catalyst himself, Mr. Lanre Olusola in the building.
Yo, yo, yo. Good to have you
on the show.
Great
it's been a while.
Back. You guys fashion me.
No, I fashion you. Was
He fashion us because he was running from Corona. He came in with full mask and everything.
Yeah.
We have to be
yes, it's good. You can
to.
call us on 081-270-53687. You can also call us on 091-390-76948. You can tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweet. Lanre, we have a lot to cover, so we're going to go straight right into it. Recent times, issue of rape, sexual assault has been front burner. I mean, it's always been there anyway. And we see people coming out to fight for it. I mean, we're happy that more women are speaking up, society is responding. This is good news. I mean, we're happy that Mirabel Center is there to help the victims. But little is said about the actual psychological effects on the child. So we're fighting for that child, we're defending her, but we're forgetting that she also has a psychological part of her that is probably bruised. As adults and as mothers and fathers and parents, how do we begin to help people, young ones, the victims, boys and girls, in getting their sanity back or, retracing the steps of what has been done to them, especially when it comes to the issue of rape and sexual assault?
Thank you very much. It's really a travesty and a big challenge. But before I answer your question, I want us to first of all talk about prevention.
Okay.
And that is very, very important. Now, we have to recognize that I was listening to the newspaper headlines, and it seems like we live in a jungle.
True.
And we have to recognize that, Nigeria is fast becoming a failed state. And this is a jungle. Now, when you live in a jungle, there are different set of rules that govern. You can't live in a jungle and expect that the rules that govern, a civilized society to govern. And so first thing, parents have to recognize that, right? And we have to teach our children, and we have to empower them. So what do we do with our girls? Yeah. They have to go and learn taekwondo.
For real?
They have to go and learn judo. They have to go and learn boxing.
Self-defense.
Self-defense. First,
we joke about it, but it seems like it's serious.
No, it is a serious matter. You have to know where to hit, when to hit, how to hit, and how to escape.
Why in a jungle?
First, we have to get the parents to teach it. Parents have to talk about it, which means that we cannot run away from the conversations anymore. Gone are the days where parents don't talk sex, abuse, rape with their children. And you have to start talking about it early. And you have to be able to name all the parts. Not that you're pee-pee. We're going to have a very difficult conversation. Now, and, it's part of conditioning our children. We have to recondition and reprogram them. And we have to empower and equip them against the assault. That's the first thing. Now, speaking to the issues, right? Also, we come back to parenting. Look, 1 out of 4 children, 1 out of 4 girls under the ages of 18, according to UNICEF, has been sexually abused. 1 out of 4. A population of 200 million. Right? That's 50 million. Right? Sorry, under 18, not 50 million, not the whole population, right? Now, if we looked at that, right, that tells us how bad it is. 1 in 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Full stop.
Do you get what we're saying? It is too close for us to be pretending about the reality. 1 in 4. Just look around. If you have 4 girls, the tendency is that one of them may be sexually abused, right? That's the reality of the day. Now, parents need to recognize that, it is more difficult for, you know, a stranger to come from outside and abuse your child. Statistics tell us, research tell us that it is somebody you know. It is somebody I know. It is that uncle that is not uncle. So stop calling that person uncle.
Yes.
It is that person that nurtures you and programs you and makes you comfortable with them that attacks, you know, at the right time. So we need to begin, right, to ensure that, you know, we put the right systems in place. That's that. Now, also, when it is uncle or your brother or your cook or somebody that does it and abuses or rapes your child, right, the parents want to keep quiet. That has a greater psychological effect on the child. Why? Because that child in his own environment, in his own home, does not feel protected.
Safe.
So what are the parents doing when you find out? There's so many stories, right, that the parents will cover it up.
Yeah.
And the abuser or the rapist is still around. The girl still sees the rapist. And life goes on. Why? Because mommy and daddy say, shh.
Cousin.
That is greater injustice. That will create a more deadly psychological effect on the girl.
Okay, so let me come.
Or the boy. Thank you very much.
That's where I want to come in, because I have 3 boys. And for me, there are a lot of awareness on how girls can protect themselves. There are a lot of conversations on how to prepare a girl for this abuse. But I don't hear enough about how, apart from just having the conversation, how to protect my boys. And I know that a lot of men have history of their first introduction into this thing as being abuse. So how can a mother of boys, a parent to boys, protect these kids?
Now, this is very interesting, Tokwe. Because if you go traditionally and you go and research the definition of rape and abuse, right? It is when, you know, against a person's consent, there's sexual penetration. When the, can I use the word?
No.
When the P, you know, enters the girl. When the guy, what we're saying is rape.
Only
the
affects.
definition of rape. Classical definition of rape is when the guy penetrates with his P the girl. That's rape. Assault is when you use other parts of your body. Right? Now,
The definition is wrong from start.
from get-go. But guess what? I said 1 in 4 girls. Hey, 1 in 2 boys.
Ooh.
1 in 2 boys. I am a victim.
Why are we not talking
But
about
who
it
is talking about it? Why? Because it's now the era of women. It's now the era of, you know, the girl child. There's more danger that is being done. Why? That guy that was raped, right, has a higher tendency to rape.
But he's more.
Yeah, he's a victim, is psychologically damaged. And we're wondering why are men promiscuous? Why can't they stay as, you know, with their wives? Why? When every house girl that comes, every auntie that comes into their house abuses them. From age 6, from age 8, from age 10.
Even
Let's
younger.
talk about the issues.
I know
younger,
so many
even
boys.
younger.
I know so many men, they're men now, whose first sexual encounter was with the house girl. So many. There's this, but there's even this particular one that, because when you were talking about covering up, this was even in America. Nigerian parents, they brought the boy, the parents were looking after the boy, a teenage boy, and he started to sleep with her son. And he would bath, and she asked the boy to bath her. And then when one day she asked the son, go and bath, the boy to go and bath her son. The boy said, no.
Don't.
Uncle puts his in my anus. And the mother, you know, the mother was beside herself. Called the family, who she was looking after the family in Nigeria. No, said, no, their son can't do it. In the end, they covered it up, moved the son to another place. This was, I think, in Washington. They moved the son to Atlanta to go and stay with another
another family. He will go and abuse those ones children there too. You know, where that boy should be in, because he was 15, a correctional center, definitely.
You know, I would say...
Mariam, I'll let you talk after the break. Let's just take this in a minute. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we've been learning quite a bit from Lanre. I mean, one thing that he said that struck me is the fact that the rape we see today is usually as a result of the fact that the boys who actually are the perpetrators were victims of rape themselves. Brian, let you jump in here.
Yeah, and that's where also I wanted to come, because many times, you know, when we talk about rape, I always question that, who are these people that find it so comfortable to do this thing, and how are they able to get away with it? And what are the signs if you're raising a child? Because they're people's children, that's the perpetrators. What does the parent look out for if she thinks a child of hers may have the tendency to grow up to do things like that? And what do you do on time before it becomes a rape case, a pedophilic case, you know? What do you do and when do you step in?
Well, you know, unfortunately, you know, we have a lot of absent parents. So that's another issue. Parents are not there. So they have farmed out the responsibility of parenting to the nanny. And you see, the truth of the matter is also that the female nanny is also abusing your daughter.
Yes, yes.
You know, so there really is no safeguard anywhere. You think, oh, yeah, oh, it's a female nanny that I've gotten for my daughter. That female nanny may be a lesbian. Right?
It doesn't have to be a lesbian herself.
Just so lack of discipline.
She was probably abused. So she's going to abuse.
Yes, let's talk about that.
And then there's also, you know, culture. There's also culture. You know, this is what we do. It has, look, if you ask, just do the opinion poll. Ask every man you know, were you sexually abused? And what is the effect on you? Because a lot of them will not really think about it, right? A lot of the impact of abuse plays out later on in your adult years. And so, coming back to your question, what can parents do? First, you have to be available and present. For you to even know what's going on in your environment, you need to take responsibility. Because at the end of the day, right, you say that you are busy, you are trying to make money, and so you are not involved in your child's life in those formative years. And the Jesuits say, give me a child from ages 0 to 7, right? That child, 80% of that child's personality, how they make decisions and what drives them is formed from ages 0 to 7. Give time at that time, right? You know, be very, very involved in your child's development. Talk to your child, teach them the right values, you know, let them, you know, have the right beliefs, and then observe what is going on. And when you begin to see that a child is clinging to the nanny, and it's just the nanny, that's a telltale sign. When you find out that, you know, the nanny and the child are spending, you know, quiet time together, and you think that, it's peace for me. You know, when the nanny is already saying that, look, this child, let this child, you know, sleep over, and you think, that child, when that child cries, so let that child sleep. Those are some of the things that you shouldn't, you know, be allowing, right? You would also see I mean, look, women are intuitive.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Yes.
Lanre, let me come to the issue of those boys. Let's stay on the boys for a minute, because they're boys. You know, the boys, they don't show emotions like the girls. So you see a young boy, he's keeping to himself. Maybe he's focused on the PSC, whatever the PS3 thingy, and he's there playing games, doing his own thing. And you feel that because the boy is in his own world, doesn't like to do stuff. Are these also signs for parents? I mean, because we always assume that because they're quiet, they're boys, or they want to hang out with their friends. I mean, what can a mother do to be more observant, to be able to see if the fact that the child is being maybe abusive, or maybe bullying somebody, for example, is a bad thing, or being too quiet? Are these signs, are these signals, or are these just a personality of boys?
Let me just also add to Mariah, how do you even break through that? They tend to have a wall, which and people say, well, they are boys. No, they don't talk much, but so how do you connect through that wall?
Right. I mean, it's also the environment. Behavior is a function of environment. So we call behavior coping mechanisms, right? What is the prevalent climate in that home? What's happening between husband and wife? Right? Is that child feeling love? Is that child feeling accepted? Is that child given, encouragement to express himself? Or does that child have to withdraw and depend on other things, right, to survive in that environment? So the parents need to take a step back and ask, excuse me, what kind of environment, what kind of climate, whether it's psychological, emotional, and physical environment are we creating? Because if you have an environment where the child feels threatened, the child, feels that there's always fights, there's always disagreement. Mommy and daddy are always shouting at each other. They are always at conflict, They just don't get it. That child is going to withdraw. He's going to find a coping mechanism in the games. Why? He wants to shut out all of that because it emotionally affects him. Right? Look, we need to create a functional environment to nurture functional children. Now, what begins to happen when it's a dysfunctional environment is behavioral issues. You begin to see that the child will be fighting in school or abusing other children in school or bullying other children in school. 2, that child would not do well in school. So the grades used to be good. But when you find out that there's dysfunctionality introduced in the home, the grades will drop. That child will not be taking care of himself, physically. He doesn't care. The things that the child should be passionate about, the child is no longer passionate about it. The child is finding an escape, or the child doesn't want to stay at home anymore. Always seeking to going out.
Right.
Okay, but there's this statement that teenagers always sort of like in that teenage process from like when they're like 12, 13, 14, go through changes that emotional, and sometimes it's all hormonal and emotional instability that causes them to withdraw. So some parenting books will tell you should give them space to grow their independence, let them make their decisions by themselves. And sometimes you see that, like Mariah said, the wall develops. So you see your child is always in his own space. How does a parent communicate with a child who is not, and you had that a good environment, but the child just seems to have become, I'm a big boy, I'm not hugging anymore, I want my space. How does a parent, I want my privacy. How does a parent enter into that?
Or do you even need to enter into it?
You see, there are 3 concepts. There's dependency, there is independency, and there's interdependency. Right? What we should be encouraging is interdependency, which is, I need you, you need me, right? But I recognize that there's times that you need your space and your privacy, and I'll give you that when you need it, right? But you also need to recognize that we have to engage, interact, and communicate. And you have to learn also that in life, right, you will get married, you will be on a job, you will be on the team with other people, you will relate with other people. You cannot want to be on your own when you want to be on your own, when you need to be with other people. The child needs to learn it. So all that independent thing, right, is about engagement and conversation and agreeing that, okay, yeah, you like to be independent. At some times we will give you independence when you want it, right? Certain times you will get it. Certain times will encroach on that independence because there will be your boss that will require something of you. Your wife will require something of you when you are married. Your children will want to spend time with you when you have children. And that is the reality of life. And so we cannot teach independence, right? And say, let's give them their time. Oh, let them be independent. Oh, it is very, very important for us to create balance, right? Now, over-dependency is also a problem. We call it codependency, right? Is also a problem when the child cannot function without you, can't make a decision without you, right? And a lot of parents are doing that today, right? Where the child is disempowered. The child cannot make a decision on its own. The child cannot go out on his own. The child cannot do anything. You have to make the decision for the child. It borders around controlling that child's life. You are suffocating that child. So parents have to create that balance.
Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll take some phone calls and tweets. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. All right, so we're still on this conversation. Waike, let me let you jump in here.
Yeah, I wanted to, because you talked about parents going to work and they're not being there for their children. In this society, two parents have to work. You need money to look after these children or to educate them. You know, so that's what is in your mind. What is the solution? Because the mother is not going to say, I'm going to stay at home and look after the children, and then there is no money to feed the children. The father can't.
Right.
So,
how do we help
You
them?
know, it's a very interesting question because it's also the time where we live in an era of social media influencers. There are jobs now that were never in existence then, that are in existence now that you make mad money from. You blow from it, right? Social media influencer, drone operator. There are jobs that you can do from home, especially in this dispensation of virtually working, right? The important thing is, I'm not saying parents should not work. The first thing is, what are you working for? Right? You have to ask yourself, at the end of the day, what's important to you and why? A lot of people are in competition with each other. It's covetousness. My neighbor has a G-Wagon, I must have G-Wagon. My neighbor is doing this. My neighbor's children are in this school. My children too must go to this school. My friends' children are in this school. Walk your path and wait for your time. And make sure that you prioritize what is important. Look, let it not be a case of, and a lot of parents say that the reason why they are working all this work is for their children, right? At the end of the day, you've lost that child. So what's the work that you have worked? It's double jeopardy. So adjust your life.
Okay.
And the beauty about COVID, right, is COVID has gotten us to realize that the things that we thought mattered really don't matter.
Yeah.
that one hits me like, because when I looked in the cupboard, I saw all my clothes, nowhere to wear them to.
All your shoes.
All the nice
And I know you have...
Let's come back to the
See,
issue.
person talking.
Let's come back to the issue of pedophilia, because the truth is that, I mean, that word has been ringing recently, and many people say that when a pedophile usually also has a community, a family, children. He has his own life, and he does that act. And there's somebody watching right now is probably a pedophile actually. Is probably a pedophile watching television, thinking, "I want to help myself." What can he do? He doesn't want. He wants to stop it. He can't stop it because obviously it's already ingrained in the system. What can he begin to do? You tell him seek help. He says, "I can't afford it." What can he do by himself to stop this act that he wants to?
You know, one of the things that I find in our society is a lot of us don't know the definition of many things. So we allocate names that sound like something to something. What is pedophilia? First of all, it's a psychiatric disorder. Let me say it. We have to recognize that it's a disorder. And what is that disorder? You have an intense and preferred sexual attraction only for children. The age is 0 to 13. right? The age of pedophilia is children between the ages of 0 to 13. Initially, it was children between the ages of 0 to 10 or 11, right? But it's been extended to 13. Now, you must be an adult or you must be a minimum of 16 years old. So if a 15-year-old boy has attraction, we would not categorize it as pedophilia, right? You must be a minimum of 5 years older. Than your victim, or you're an adult. That's what pedophilia is, right? And then when we talk about how can you help yourself, it's almost like saying you have malaria. What can you do? You have diabetes. What can you do? You have depression. What can you do? You have bipolar syndrome. What can you do? You have cancer. What can you do? You have high blood pressure. What can you do? You need to sit down with an expert that understands it. But first, you must accept that I have a problem. I have a problem and I need help. And, I often say that problems, challenges like this, right, they hide themselves in secrecy. Under the shadows of darkness. So first thing, now, okay.
Tell somebody.
And I'll tell somebody that, oh boy, I get problem. Find someone that is a confidant that you can talk to. I have this problem. I need help. Right? Speak out. And then let people hold you accountable. First thing, that they will not allow you to be alone
with children.
With a child. Because, oftentimes, right, once we are able to do it, we will keep repeating it, right? So get accountability partners that can hold you accountable, right? And also you ensure that you set boundaries for yourself as you go and get help. Those are the first set of things.
Thank you. Talk about
okay.
Creating a safe space for people who have been abused, the survivors of this attack. There are a few agents, NGOs that provide this, but some people are watching and they're hearing for the first time that maybe the reason I am unable to control my urges is because of what that person did to me, So they are now realizing their lack of discipline is a result of their abuse. What's the line of action for that person? Should they create a community? Should they get counseling? What should they first do to start undoing the damage that probably has happened years back?
So I'll tell you a story. So I had this incredible client that flew in to work with me from Sao Tome and Principe, 6'2", gorgeous, incredibly beautiful chick, right? About 28. She's been raped 4 times. The minimum number of people that raped her were 4 people. The first rape that happened was when she was in the village, right? As a, young girl, age 12, by her cousin and his friends, right? And the effect on her was that she couldn't hold a relationship. Each year, she goes through about 25 men and 25 women.
What?
Yeah, each year. For the men, is control. For the women, is dominance, right? And she was an advocate against abuse.
You're kidding me.
And she was being paid top dollar. She was a millionaire in dollars. And so she had gotten to a point where she was frustrated. She couldn't keep a relationship more than a week. She had to go through, because they flew her everywhere in private jets, and she was, this prominent person. And so she got to a point where she realized there was a problem and she needed help. She wanted and she yearned for intimacy and exclusivity. She didn't know how. So she flew in one December, and I spent 3 weeks working with her. Suffice it to say that I had to take her back to the 4 rape cases, right? And, there's a therapy that we call the timeline travel and matrix reimprinting, where we take you back before the event and recreate a movie. So, right, we'll play the event as a movie. We rewind it to just before the event happened. We cut out that part of the rape or the event and replace it with something that the victim at that age wants to replace it with. Now, what happens is it has a neurological effect. Now, the beautiful thing about our brain is our brain cannot tell the difference between reality and a lie. And so when we do that therapy, right, your brain doesn't calibrate the emotions, the intensity of the emotions, you know, and the echoes. That's the technical word that we call it. The echoes that keep, you know, creating the attraction in your future. There's no, you know, intense desire for it anymore. And you have to go through several other therapies, whether it's CBT,
So we need
whether
to
it's
normalize therapy.
EFT. You see, the challenge that I have is yes is the answer, right? Is we are normalizing everything else, but we seem to be dragging our feet, not realizing how bad things are with us. Now, religion, tradition, culture, right, is creating many challenges for many people today. Many people their mindsets, their beliefs, their ideologies, their behaviors are shaped by, you know, dysfunctionalities in things that are, you know, anchored on our religion, our tradition, and our culture. So yes, therapy, coaching, and all of those things need to be normalized.
Mainstream.
It needs to be deployed in our primary health care centers, in our hospitals, like they are doing abroad now. EFT, NLP, and all of those interventions are complementary, and they deliver quick and fast results.
Let me go on a break. When we come back, we'll come back to Mariam. Stay with us. We'll be right back.